In this video, I will present you a compliance checklist for a Singapore registered company. So the agenda is going to be these points which I have shown over here. I am providing here a checklist for companies and I am trying to cover at least 80% of the companies in Singapore. There can be cases where companies might be subject to more checklists than this, but those incidences are rare. Now out of these 2 points are highlighted in a yellow font color, and those are the points which every company has to normally comply with. So let's start with this list. One more point to highlight, for each of these points we have a detailed video available on our channel. So in case you want to get more information, you can always refer to that detailed video. So the first point is about the appointment of auditors. In case your company is required to appoint an auditor, then you must appoint it within the 3 months period from the date of incorporation. Now, every company in Singapore is not required to appoint an auditor, and most of the companies are exempted from audit if 2 out of the 3 conditions listed here are met. These conditions are to be applied at a company level as well as at a group level. So in case a company is a subsidiary of another big company, then in that case you will consider this rule at a group level. So the conditions are total annual revenue is not more than 10 millions in Singapore dollars. Total gross assets of the company as at a financial period are not more than $10 million. And total number of employees at the end of the financial year are not more than 50. So if any 2 out of these 3 conditions are met, then your company will be exempted from audit. However, if it is not the case, then in that circumstances you will need to appoint the auditor. Next point is about customs registration. If your company is engaged in import or export of goods, and if it intends to import or export goods either in or out of Singapore, it can be for domestic consumption or for re-export, then in that case you will need customs registration. So mind well, it is both for import as well as for export. If the goods are moving physically across the boundary of Singapore, then this registration is required. This registration is a one-time process and it is also called as TradeNet registration. It will enable you or your logistics service provider to process either import or export of goods from Singapore. The TradeNet system also provides you a feature to send notifications if any import or export processing is happening on your company and what is the status of those. Next point is about GST registration and submission. So your company may or may not be subject to GST registration. You are required to compulsorily register for GST if your annual sales in Singapore exceeds 1 million Singapore dollars or is likely to exceed 1 million Singapore dollars. In that case, you must register for GST, you must charge GST to your customers and remit that GST amount to the government treasury periodically. It is also possible that you may opt to register for GST voluntarily, especially in case of situations where you are paying GST on input side and you want to claim back the refund. So in either of these cases, you will have to carry out GST registration, and in addition to that, you are also required to quarterly submit your GST return to the government authorities. It is called as Form F5. Moving on to next is a topic of CPF registration and submission. In your company at some point of time, you will hire employees. If you are employing a Singapore citizen or a Singapore PR, then in that circumstances, you will have to register your company for CPF. CPF registration is a one-time process, but in addition to that, you will also have to declare monthly CPF submissions to the CPF board. So what happens here is, out of employee's salary, you will deduct certain percentage of that salary, and on top of the employee's salary, you will add employer CPF contribution. And this total amount together will be deposited into that employee's Central Provident Fund account. The next point is about foreign employees' visas. If your company is employing any foreigner who is on any of the work permit, whether it is employment pass, S pass, or work permit, then you need to take care of two specific things. One is you need to renew their visa timely. So it should not happen that any of the employees working in your company without a proper visa. And secondly, when any of such employee resigns from your company, at that point of time you have to ensure that tax clearance is obtained for that employee before he leaves the country. In case the tax is not paid by that employee, then it might become your company's liability to pay on behalf of that employee to the tax authorities. Next topic is about business licensing requirements. If your company is subject to business licensing requirements, then you will have to sign some licensing conditions. And these licensing conditions normally specify some additional compliance. Typical examples of industries where business license is required is recruitment, restaurants, travel and tourism, financial advisory, telecom, and so on. Now, it is not possible for me to list the requirements of each of the industry as to what compliance is required, but as an example, I can mention here that for a recruitment company, the company is required to report the recruitment figures every month to the Ministry of Manpower. The next one is about maintaining accounting records and supporting documents. So, every company which is registered in Singapore is expected to maintain an accounting system or software. If you are not maintaining, you can engage an external service provider like Epica. If you want to maintain accounting system yourself, then there are a lot of options nowadays like QuickBooks, Sage, and Zoho Books and Xero. So you can select any of these. And in addition to this, while maintaining the accounting records, you should also maintain the supporting documents. Supporting documents typically are the receipts and the invoices for the expenses incurred. The next two compliances are ACRA compliance under Companies Act and IRS compliance regarding income tax or corporate tax. So every company must hold an annual general meeting within 6 months from the end of the financial year. And once AGM is conducted, it should also file an annual return within 30 days after AGM is conducted. And in case of IRAS, you have to file estimated chargeable income within 3 months after the end of financial year and file tax return by December 15th of the assessment year. Now these two compliances are generally required by every company, whereas the points that I previously discussed depends upon your specific circumstances. So in summary, in Singapore you need to ensure that you comply with all the relevant regulations. If you don't comply with any of these regulations, then there can be fines or enforcement actions by the authorities. So you can use this as a checklist to ensure that your Singapore company is in compliance.
Thank you for watching this video. This video was brought to you by Epica Consulting Singapore. Subscribe to our channel today to get notified when new videos are posted.